Uh, I think we're live. Salutations, fellow humans. Um,
Mhm.
as always,
He has forgotten how it starts.
it's been a
He's
while.
lost his line.
It's been a while. We've made some alterations to the intro. Because I forgot the intro. But yeah, we are back with another highly anticipated episode of the noisy background. To all five of you eagerly waiting, we're here. we
That's debatable, but fine.
oh, you think it's six? Oh, so good. I might have miscounted. To all
Mhm.
six of you waiting.
Okay, now that's more accurate.
Yeah. Welcome back. Uh, as always, I am your host, Jacoby. We got Joe, and we got a familiar voice that you may recognize from our very first episode.
Mhm.
Say hi, George.
Hello, hello, hello. It
Yeah,
is I, Mr. George.
you just needed to say hi. But yes, we have George with us.
I'm supposed to say something else after that, but let's see.
Don't worry, it's like. So George will be joining us. Um,
Yeah.
Probably for the inevitable future, maybe because we have no friends. Um,
Wow, depressing immediately.
but anyways, a lot has happened since the last time we were all gathered here for a podcast, right? It was last year, right? When we had our very first episode, and all three of us were here. Uh, so a bit has happened, I guess you could say, after that debut. Um, and now we're back with a quite the interesting podcast for you guys. Um, all right, um, Joe. Uh, I hope you've gotten ready for this one.
Shut up.
Yeah, you'll probably end up being a little bit more reserved, but we're gonna talk about a whole bunch of stuff. Basically, for once, we actually have a structure to the podcast. Just rambling. Although we're not to be taken seriously. Everything we say is rambling, but might as well be some constructive rambling, to say the
Yes,
least.
please do not ever take us seriously, please.
Yeah. Please do not take anything we say seriously. We're like the least serious people on the planet, right? We sit around and we play Minecraft and Taco. I'm sorry, and Taco. So um, first things first. Let's just catch up. A lot has happened since the last podcast. That was around January. What's happened everywhere, I guess. But for some, reason, good or bad, 2021 seems to have calmed the fuck down. Uh, at least it's not as bad as 2020. uh, I don't
At
know
least
whether
we hope
yeah,
it's like that for you guys.
yeah, it doesn't look too bad. January was January was quite the intro, but things seem to have calmed down. So it's not looking too bad, right? We haven't started World War III. Um, you know.
At least not yet.
Yeah, at least not yet.
Well, actually, at the beginning of last year, January was just a premonition of World War III. Then
Yeah.
I think they decided, no, let's not do that.
Let's have a fucking pandemic instead. That's a great
Yeah, let's
idea.
have a fucking.
What do you think, folks? Is a pandemic worth not having World War III?
Yeah, okay, wait. Actually, yeah, that is an interesting question. Would you rather have World War III, or would you rather have the pandemic? Well, when you look at it that way, the pandemic doesn't seem too bad. Yeah, it's killed a whole bunch of people. Global health
In the
issue.
millions.
Yeah, but it's killed a whole lot less than nuclear, war. So it's not terrible. Someone's gonna completely take that out of context. But whatever.
All I'm saying is like they both killed in the millions. I don't know if the nuclear will hit billions. So it's just a question of figures. It's literally a question of figures.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I guess so. But like with like nuclear fallout, you'd have to like it wouldn't just be death, like, right? Because even next generations would be affected. Entire areas wouldn't be habitable anymore and shit like that. I feel like the devastation would have been more if we ended up having a war. uh, as compared to a pandemic. At least we are at the stage where we can handle a pandemic, right? Like if you think about, like, if this shit happened in like the early 2000s, we would be fucked.
Mhm.
Or like the 90s, it would be.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it would not be good. It would take us much longer to even come up with a single vaccine. Even that's a 60% effective vaccine. It would take us much longer. And right now we did it in a year. So we might have been at the good, like, right place, right time to survive this.
Mhm.
So it's not too bad. It's not too bad. Plus, staying at home and watching Netflix beats dying in a hole somewhere. So I'll take the pandemic over the war, personally.
I mean, you
Just
also
As
got
a,
make
a
sure you
couple
watch
people.
everything you use on Netflix.
yeah,
All, all I'm
as a
gonna say, there's a couple
healthy.
people who died at home.
Yeah, well, yeah, sure, fine, but okay, maybe there's a little biasness in this, right? Because I am a healthy 20-year-old male. I would definitely get drafted. So so if sitting around and watching fucking anime and Avatar and shit all day, it's
The forum.
yeah, feels a little bit better to me. uh but yeah, 2021 seems to have chilled out. Not too much crazy shit happening. Uh, at least I hope not. If there is, I haven't heard about it. I might be out of touch. But as far as I've heard, things have calmed down, um, which is good, I guess. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. So at least there's that. But with everything kind of slowing down, and with like the pandemic like slowly being like on its last leg. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. It's not on its last leg. uh, the fight's not over yet. We may have vaccines, but it's still spreading. It's spreading faster than the vaccines. So we're not out of the woods just yet, right? It's like the final marathon stretch or something, final last 10 miles or whatever. So it's not over.
But at least now, at least we know we're in the world.
Yeah. At
At the
least,
beginning, we didn't even know what the hell we were,
Yeah,
We do up, down, left was right, things were all over the place. You see, we were in a thick fog, but at least now we know we are in a thick fog, and we've kind of found a way to figure shit out, I guess.
yeah. There's some hope inside. At
Yeah,
least we can see the end. We can see the end.
yeah.
While there
So
are still some people out there who don't believe COVID is a thing.
yeah,
Let's not forget you guys.
that surprises me. Is that that's it's so weird. How people think that like COVID is a hoax, right? That it was made by the government to control you, to make you wear a mask or some shit like that. It's really so dumb.
No, okay, sure. Admittedly, it does sound dumb if you look at the statistic base from like the statistics perspective of it. It looks well completely stupid to suggest such a thing.
Yeah, it does.
But if you look at it from the perspective of like normal life, this guy probably is, he has lived every day just seeing COVID on the news and in papers and statistics, but never really on the ground. You see, he's never really um, seen it for himself. You see, everyone around him kind of seems to be okay. People have normal problems, or you know, COVID is no longer
Basically,
really a disease. It's more of a set of problems that come with apparently the world having a pandemic. You see, so which
if you
include there's not enough money in circulation. Guys are getting laid off. Shit, everything's just going south, except for the fact that a disease exists. You see, that is the only thing that is missing. You see, everything else is just there's a curfew for God knows what.
for
It's
the
the social
disease.
distancing for God knows what. You see, you
Now,
see, you're
that's
told to
the
wash your
thing.
hands more often than you're comfortable with. You see, but
People aren't comfortable
you
with
sit down
washing
and
their
think.
hands. That says a lot about society.
No,
Then
no,
you
no. You see, you're
gotta
asked
go
to
wash
wash
your
your. No, you see, every point at every point you're being told sanitize. Your temperature is checked every time. So you end up being like,
yeah.
what is this
You
all
can
for again?
you can get frustrated, right? But
Yeah.
all it takes is like 5 minutes to just think logically about it, right? Um, there are reasons as to why all these things happen. There are reasons as to why we wear masks. There are reasons as to why we sanitize, we clean our hands and shit, we maintain that level of hygiene. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't take a whole lot of time to figure out why we're doing these things. And like the whole government conspiracy thing is really dumb. Because you'll blame your own government, but it's like every country in the world is experiencing this. So did they just have a meeting or something? Did they have like a secret UN council and just decide that we're just gonna manufacture a pandemic? For what reason?
No, no, but you see, you need to realize that you're dealing with human beings.
With,
Tell
with,
a human being to look at the bigger picture, and he'll tell you that he's bigger than the frame. You see, it's just that simple. Um, that guy will.
yeah, I refuse.
Your point is no. Your point is that there's a pandemic that's happening in every country in the world. You see, he'll tell you, I don't live in every country in
Except
the world.
except
I
Tanzania.
live in Kahawa. I look at the people around me. Everyone is healthy. Everyone is fine. So how come I am being told that I can interact with them anytime between 5 a.m. and 10 p.m. But after that, suddenly they become contagious to me. I need to be able to understand that logic.
Yeah, see, the
I
thing,
need to
there's
understand.
there's a there's
Does
a
it
very
spread
simple
during that time? You see?
there's a very simple reason as to why they don't understand, right?
Yeah.
Because they're stupid.
Oh man.
No, 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 no,
I
no,
just
no,
pissed.
no, no.
I know I just pissed a
You
whole
might
bunch
as
of
well say
people
you have
off.
no argument, man.
Super
No
Look,
gaslighting.
reason.
there are logical reasons behind things, right? And I get really
Yeah,
annoyed when people ignore the logic, right? Yes, it's fine to
yeah.
think about things in your own like little world. You don't necessarily have to think about the people dying in every other country on the planet. You just think
Mhm.
that's just there to remind you that it is happening and no one is untouchable. The deceased doesn't care. So
Yes, but
the reason why you go out and you wear a mask, right, is because
Mhm.
you do it and your friends do it and everyone else does it, then there's a chance that you won't fucking die. But if you don't wanna do that, there's a little thing in nature called natural selection. It's fucking
okay.
beautiful, man. And it'll get you. It'll get you. So,
This nigga
so
just blatantly saying we're gonna die. Like you niggas stupid.
I'm not saying you will die. I'm saying you might die.
Mhm.
I mean, I for one feel much safer outside when I'm wearing my mask and I'm having my little sanitizer. Um, it doesn't mean that you can't catch the disease, but lowering the chance is better than anything. And
Yeah,
it's basic maths. The less people have it, the less it'll spread, right? Because the
yeah,
whole point of having because you remember like when the whole mask thing came out, they were saying at first they were like, okay, people who are sick wear masks so you don't spread it. But
yeah,
then logic came into play, and if everyone wore a mask, whether you're sick or you're not sick, if you wear a mask, then there's just less likelihood for you to catch it. And the less people
yeah.
catch it, the less people can spread it. The less people die. And you are people. So
Yeah.
it's not
No, but
a terrible hard calculation to make, and I don't think it's infringing the economic side of it. Yes, I understand that that's hard for a lot of people getting laid off and people losing
uh,
their jobs. But like the whole mask and sanitization stuff, I don't see how that's a big problem to people.
well,
I understand the
no,
whole like no money or shit like getting laid off and whatever, and I sympathize. But the whole being asked to wear a mask, I don't see I don't see how that is infringing on anyone's freedoms.
no,
It's
it's
your
not really a
free
matter
it's
of
your
freedom
freedom not
now.
to die.
It's more of it's more of okay. Here's this. You see, when the thing is like okay, first things first. I'm not against wearing masks. I'm not against sanitizing. I'm not against washing hands. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not against it.
Clearly
Actually,
state your
I,
side.
you're just
I'm
playing
totally
devil's
for it.
advocate, aren't you? Yeah,
No, 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 no.
you're a
I'm totally
harbinger
for it.
for natural selection.
No, 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 no. No, I am totally for it. Actually, um, at the place I work at, I am the guy who constantly insists that, okay, see, I work at an NGO for that work deals with street children. You see, I am the guy who constantly bullies them into washing their hands every now and then. You see, before meals especially, but when they come into the center, they need to wash their hands. And the one who bullies them into washing their hands
And why do
bullies
you
them
do
for not
that?
washing their hands before.
And
Sorry.
why do you do that?
Simple hygiene. COVID usually not really a priority.
You know
It's
what?
simple hygiene. These guys have come from the field and they're coming to eat. You see, you guys,
Uh-huh.
I can't
So
stomach the fact that you're gonna hold that cup with
so you
dirty
don't
hands, man. I
so
can't. You see, but
so so
that matters
simple
aside.
hygiene.
Those matters
Simple
aside. No, no,
hygiene.
no, 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 no,
No, I just want to make a point.
no,
But
no, no, no.
simple
Bunny,
hygiene
bunny,
and
bunny.
COVID are pretty much they go hand in hand. The whole point of
Yes,
maintaining
yes.
simple hygiene also like why do we maintain simple hygiene to begin with, right? It's so we don't get sick. It's so we put like we
Uh,
wash the germs away, right? So it's the same
yes,
thing
but
with COVID, just to a much higher extent because this germ is a little bit more dangerous than the rest.
Yeah, but we're losing work quite fast.
Yeah, this is not what
Um,
we planned, Shaka.
so- yeah, no. You see, okay, so I am all for this whole sanitizing and wearing mask. I'm totally for it. The problem I have is this whole I don't know, kind of superstitious and very it's borderline superstition, I guess. I'm losing the word here, where guys, you find like guys are real kind of do these things to a kind of extreme level, to the point where it's almost superstitious and very perturbing to see. For example, someone is putting on a mask in a situation where you can clearly see it doesn't make sense to wear a mask. You see, for example, you're running and you're putting on a mask. Come on, man.
Yeah,
When the sweat mixes with that mask,
you can
it
run and
completely
put on a
traps the
mask.
air, man.
You can run and put on a mask.
Yes, but man, if you're the type who sweats heavily, when the water enters that mask, it'll fill those pores, and essentially it'll make breathing completely impossible. You're gonna take
Carry
it off. You
extra
see?
masks.
No.
Carry extra
You
masks.
are allowed to run without your mask. You are allowed to run without your mask.
In in
People
li-
have actually,
in this country.
um, what's it called? Uh, I don't know, passed out because of lack of air because they were running while wearing a mask. Or you find like you're in a place where, like at the workshop. Sorry, I also work at a workshop, at a bike
Yeah,
workshop.
yeah. Thank you for the
So at
content.
the workshop, you see,
Flexi.
essentially people don't wear masks because there's
That's
too much going on. You're gonna have to, I don't know, take a breather at one point in time, so people don't wear masks. But then
see.
you find like there's that one black sheep among the fold who has a mask. You see, it creates a bit
Yes,
of tension because it
the tension is supposed to be there because see
no
the,
no 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 no
the
no
the
no no
thing
no no
is
you
it's
see,
not
no no you see,
it,
no
it's
no
a
no you
it,
see.
it's not
Okay, chill. Let me
it's
get to my point. Let me get to
okay.
my point. You see,
All right.
okay, like I understand caution. You see, I understand like necessary precautions should be taken in order to deal with the disease,
You
but I
understand the
also
death
understand
rates.
that regardless of whether there's a disease, or regardless of how many precautions should be taken, these precautions are taken by human beings, you see, and they should be taken in a way that will make sure that it's it will kind of consider the humanitarian aspect. People won't be living in fear and
You're supposed
worry
to
and
live in
everything.
fear because you
Why? What's it called? No.
fear
You
is
see, so
effective. Fear is
no,
effective.
Oh, from the way
not
you're
really.
talking, Alvaro, I feel there has to be a necessary amount of fear in such situations. I
Like
can't
True.
tell I
Yes,
can't tell
necessary,
you
it's
but
it's
not
I can't
it's
tell you when
overboard.
people are dying in the millions. Like, oh, don't worry,
it's
no.
yeah, it's not
It's
your
just a passing
average.
breeze.
It's not your average flu. You can't just treat it with a level of nonchalance that you treat anything else. It's a
Yeah.
pandemic. It's the term pandemic isn't just used for anything, right? It's a serious ass fucking disease, and it's
Okay.
the death rate speaks for itself, right? You should be fucking afraid. This thing kills,
Yeah,
man.
but
It
now,
doesn't just give you a little fucking flu that you just wake up, right?
mhm.
It's killed millions and is still killing millions, right? And we have the tools at our disposal to help slow it down.
Yeah.
So I would argue because firstly, I put on my mask whenever I'm outside, all the time I'm outside,
Mhm.
and even when I'm coming back into the house because it's my own little safe area. No one really comes to the house, so I can take my mask off. But you still, you don't just take off your mask. You sanitize. You get in the shower and stuff, and get all that. You make sure you're clean because it's very serious, and especially okay because because of the impact that it has, right? Um, you might seem you might see like a lot of the younger generation don't necessarily die from it. A lot of
Mm,
the younger generation end up surviving, but that's most of the time that's not the problem. Most of the time, if you're young and healthy, you probably have good odds. But for the 1 or 2 weeks that you are contagious, you could spread it to other people who can't, whose immune systems can't cope with this shit. Um,
yeah.
and you're inadvertently causing. I don't want to seem very harsh, but
Mm,
it's basically what you're doing is you're inadvertently causing the death. So it is a very serious thing, and I feel like how just having a mask on or washing your hands, like that's not something like weighing that versus lives. Like it's a
yeah.
minor inconvenience, but bro, the payoff is worth it.
Yes,
Um,
yes. I have not said that I am against that. I am not in any way saying that these things should stop. In well, in any contrary to what you're suggesting, I'm actually advocating for these things to become quite mainstream. It's just that
should
I
be
really wish they became
mandatory. Should
mainstream,
be
but
bloody people
um,
with guns. I maybe I'm just an advocate for authoritarianism.
yeah. No, no, I can tell there's a lot of masochistic tendencies from
Okay,
how you're putting it. Because man, you think it's something so
masochistic.
huge.
What are you talking about
Ah,
masochist?
no, 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 no.
How did you
I'd
get
like it. No,
masochist
no, no. I
from?
just like these things to be put in such a way that you didn't have to feel like someone had a gun pointed to you every time, so that now
But
you feel.
but
No,
like as
I
you
like
pointed
people
out,
doing.
as you pointed out, the
Yeah.
fact that it's up to humans to do this shit, and
Hmm.
we know from history that we are pretty dumb sometimes. I'll admit it. I'll admit it. As human beings, we have flaws, right? Um,
Yeah.
so the issue is if like one person can ruin it for everyone, right? You just need one fucker, and he can spoil it for everyone. So if anything, they should be enforced like very strictly to the point that even those people kind of have to comply. 'Cause otherwise, they're just gonna end up ruining it for everyone.
Mm.
Um, I, that might be like a very strong take. I understand. Um, like a lot of now, as I'm saying this, I'm remembering a large demographic of our listener base are from the state. And they have the whole like freedom thing and whatever. But I feel like actually,
First Amendment.
yeah,
First Amendment, right?
yeah. Right, but that's kind of the whole thing of the states, right? The whole thing is freedom, right? Democratic freedom or whatever. Um, so I guess it can seem hard. Um, I guess because of the culture there or whatever. And it might seem like they're trying to force shit on you, right? But I feel like when it comes to saving lives, some things are more important than social constructs or anything like that. I think like when it comes down to it, no matter the religion or the stance, even if you're a nihilist, especially if you're a nihilist, even if you're an atheist, life still has that intrinsic value, right? So when you're like,
Mm.
and above all, because all of us humans are narcissistic to some degree, we all value human life above literally everything else, right? As humans, right? We value other human lives because we are also human. So I think like when it comes to that, when it comes to such a basic thing, I think it kind of has to overrule everything else. Um, just simply because of who we are and how we operate. Because we are a very social species, so it's ingrained in us to put the species or the community or whatever ahead of everything else. So when lives come into question, then sometimes drastic measures have to be taken. I mean, it's always been that way. It's how we survived for this long. It's how we thrived for this long. So, um, it might seem a bit harsh, but it's all in good faith. Uh, at least I hope people see that it's all in good faith. But with the vaccine and everything, we shouldn't have to deal with it for too long, right?
Uh,
Yeah. But anyway,
Really?
this is completely not what we're talking. As tradition, we went off topic nearly
of
immediately,
course.
like within the first 10 minutes. Uh,
This is how all our conversations go. I don't know whether these are how conversations with Joel goes. I don't know about Joel. Do conversations with Bonique usually do your conversations with Bonique usually go this way?
Oh yeah. Like us staying on topic is almost a struggle.
yeah,
Bloody impossible.
yeah, it's very hard, especially. I don't know why that is. I don't know why that is, but for some reason, I don't know. Maybe I just have scattered brain. Yeah, the memory span of a fucking goldfish. Uh, I
By the
mean,
way,
yeah.
well, before we leave this topic, like I just want to know, like, for those who believe the government is the cause of this, like, I assume that some people have conjured up at least ideas of what they're trying to do at the very least.
Oh
Because
yeah,
I hear,
yeah.
yes, it's the government.
The
I just don't.
reason, right?
Yeah,
Like the
yeah, the reasons I've
conspiracy
never
theory.
heard.
Like they're making us wear masks so they can track us or some shit like that. Yeah,
Isn't it easier just to track us with the phones? I
yeah,
mean,
of course.
Yeah.
So someone will say that and they'll post it on Facebook or something. Oh man, well we're being tracked. We like everybody's being tracked. Like the little location thing on your phone tracks you. And like at any one moment, there's at least one company in the world that knows where you are. At least one, at the very
At
least.
least one.
At least one. And the more media you can and shit you consume, probably more. But I guess it's just how our society has been built and how we've evolved. I don't know if you could call it evolution at this point, but yeah. Which actually, anyway, no, I won't go off topic. I was just about to go to a whole ass rant about genetic
Yeah.
engineering and stuff, but nah.
I could see you open that door, you see.
no
Yeah,
one's
yeah.
stopping you.
No. We actually have stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
I don't think unless we want to make a 10-hour podcast session,
Yeah.
which I don't think I have enough tea for. Uh, might as well digress from this. Um, but yeah, so actually the idea for this podcast came from a conversation that I had with George the other day.
Of
Um,
course.
say of
Wow.
course. Uh, but yeah, we talk quite frequently, and we had this really interesting conversation about like social structure, right, and modern day relationships and all this weird
Hello.
random shit. Yeah.
You broke off.
Oh, sorry. I was just explaining that we had this conversation about like social structure, and about modern day relationships and stuff and impacts on psychology of human beings and all this really interesting stuff. And we were just like, yeah, we should definitely make this into a podcast for the an episode for the podcast. um, it's kind of where
Can
this.
you now fill me and the audience in what the contents of such talk was?
Yeah. So I guess basically, where did we even begin? It was such a long ass and we went off topic so many times,
Of
as is
course,
as is tradition. Um,
as is tradition.
yeah. But basically, we're just talking about the generations, right? I think I also had this conversation with you, Joe, some time back, um, about the whole like the differences in generations, right, and how vastly different. Like the scale just went up to like 100 um, after the
Yeah, now I
2000.
remember that conversation. Okay, yeah, sorry, proceed.
The person I was talking to did not remember were you just sitting there just waiting for it to click?
Yes, no,
Wee, wee, wee.
no, you see, we usually talk for so long and so often. You see, I keep. It's hard to keep track of like what we talk about. You see, it's hard unless like the thing we talk about is usually like a continuous process. It's very hard to keep track of like anything we've said
I,
we've talked about because
I guess
when I talk with you, I usually talk for anything between an hour and 3 hours. So you see,
yeah, we talked for a while. I guess I'm
and
not the only one with
go off topic
goldfish memory.
every 20 minutes or so, you see. So uh, it, it
It's fine.
it gets quite impossible to keep track, you see.
I guess I'm not the only one with goldfish memory. Um,
hmm
but yeah, so we're talking about like the whole generation thing, right? And I had this conversation with Joel, I think, some time back, the whole Gen Z thing. Um,
Oh yeah.
Then that, but it's fine.
it's, we call it Gen Z, man. It's Gen Z. It sounds much cooler than Gen Z.
Nah, nah, nah,
Don't
nah,
say
nah.
Z. Don't say yeah, it's Z. But anyway, uh, so basically, it's like how the world worked before the 2000s and how it worked afterwards is so drastically different. Like the the absolute skyrocket in technology and social media that happened after the 2000s was just insane. It
hmm
was huge. It revolutionized the entire planet, and I guess uh, most of us here, or pretty much all of us here, were born in that era, so we kind of got a little taste of the old world before it disappeared. Not as much as the millennials. The millennials pretty much took both sides, right, 50-50. But we got a slight taste of, of, of the 90s culture before it faded, finally. Not finally, like for good, I guess. Um, but they're like so drastically different places, and so like I remember I was on the Gen Z subreddit, and there are always these jokes of like Gen Z humor being very weird and abstract and shit, right, and being like fucking misunderstandable from like all the others generations. And we have such weird fucking just everything humor, behaviors, our social constructs are just all over the place, and it's very hard to understand. Like because I was what's the word? I was taking this as an example of like me seeing my therapist. Uh, yes, I see a therapist. You should also
Of
see a
course.
therapist, by the way. Of course, I see a therapist. But
Look at this one.
no. Everyone should see a therapist. I advocate for that. Like, even if you are healthy, You should still see a therapist. Healthy people still need therapy. Um,
Mhm.
it's not.
There was.
It,
So when don't you need therapy?
you,
Healthy
you
people
no
should
you,
need
you
therapy.
you never don't need therapy. You always need therapy, man. You always need, you always need therapy, right?
In short, we're always sick.
Yeah. It's human nature, man. We're always fucked up. It's just finding the right therapy for you, right? You don't have to be the whole traditional go and sit in the weird ass long chairs and have the therapist ask you how does that make you feel. Like it doesn't have to be that way. If it is that way for you, if that's what helps you, sure, fine, but it doesn't always have to be that way. But I feel like we're all fucked up. Even the good ones are fucked up. We all kind of need therapy, right? Because it's not intuitive, like how to human, right? We don't learn, like no one teaches you how to be a human being, right? It's something you have to figure that shit out on yourself, right? And it's such a weird thing to think about, right? Because you didn't choose this, right? Like I don't think anyone chose this. Like no one consented to be born. Uh,
I remember the guy who gave you that lie. You see?
yes, he was, and I'm stealing it. Um, but but yeah, no one consented to be born. So
Mhm.
He had no choice in the matter.
yeah,
Yeah, I had no choice in the matter, you know.
yeah,
There was a guy who was actually advocating for what's it called, for you to be able to sue your parents for giving birth to you without
but,
your consent, you know.
but then but then doesn't like
No, I
don't
asked that person, how do you give consent then?
you don't you just don't be
It-
No,
born. You just
no,
don't
no.
be born.
No. Think about it from his perspective. He wants to be able to sue you
Yeah,
because
you didn't give
he,
consent.
he yeah, you didn't give consent. Your child didn't give consent to get to be given birth to. So
Yeah,
it's just a question like, okay, let's pass that law. How does the child give consent?
ask. That's a thing for the religious people. Ask God, right? Cause man, if I had a
What's the
choice,
sign?
man, if I had a choice, I probably, man, I don't want to be human. I want to be a duck or some shit, you know?
You want to be a duck?
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh, Jacoby 2021. I want to be a duck.
I
Um,
I
want
would
to
have
be
chosen
that.
something high up the food chain, but okay, a duck works, I
No,
guess.
no, 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 no. Imagine an interview and someone asks you, "What do you want from life?" I don't know. I just want to be a
I just
duck.
want to be a duck, man. I didn't want to be a human and pay taxes and have to deal with
No, no,
existential
no, no,
crisis.
no.
Nah,
Better yet,
just want to be a
what do
duck.
you want from life? Nothing much. I just want to be a duck.
Yeah. If reincarnation is a thing, man, I want to come back as a duck. Just have the best of life. Just
Hmm.
just eating breadcrumbs in the park all day, and annoying people and stealing their shit and running away. Like that's the kind of life.
This coming from the egotistical narcissist who claims to have the biggest brain on the fucking planet, you see.
uh, yes,
He's
yes.
given up on life. He's given up on
Hmm.
humanity.
Yeah. But
The
anyway,
man with the most advantages is the man who has nothing to do with
see
it.
that's isn't that the whole point? People cursed with knowledge often don't want. It's like the article or that meme, sorry, of the Japanese robot that got gained intelligence and chose to drown itself. Right? It's like fuck it, I ain't doing this shit, man. I
No,
ain't
no,
doing this shit. Right? So being a human is really fucking hard, right? Just in and of itself, right? Because of the complexity of our minds. We end up thinking about such, like, we ponder such complex fucking questions that no other species
Let's be straight.
to the best of our knowledge.
We are unnecessarily complex.
Yeah, exactly. Like you don't have to look far.
I mean,
Just philosophy itself, man. Philosophy could have you up for fucking days, right, without any fucking sleep, and you wouldn't get any fucking answer. And then, you just have your dog over there, content with his fucking bone. He's like, I ain't gonna worry about what happens after I die. The fuck?
Mm.
Nah. None of that shit, man. Just my next bone, right?
Mm-hmm.
But because of the nature of human beings, right? Because of all this weight put upon us, um, and because of the fact that there is no handbook on how to be a human, at least in psychological terms. Well, maybe they made one. I haven't read one. But there is no. We're not taught this kind of shit, right? It's not something you learn in school of how to human, right? So because of that, I kind of do think we need therapy, because therapy is like what's it called? It's like a more practical form of philosophy. Because what therapy is practically convincing yourself that you're okay. That's a very watered down version. Um, I apologize to any PhD holders out there.
Mm-hmm.
But like, fucking hell, I did 40 years for you to condense my shit. Like, but
For you to
but
water it down, it's
yeah,
just
yeah,
be convincing myself that I am okay.
yeah. It's just convincing yourself that I'm okay, right? And working through shit. So it is important. At least I feel like it's important. Maybe it's just because I'm fucked up. But I feel like it's very
At least you
important.
know it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, anyway, people aren't supposed to take us seriously, so I can say whatever I want.
Okay.
Not that I should, but anyway, like I guess now because of that, and because of the different nature of at least this current generation that we're in, with whole Gen Z stuff, and how we interact and how we
Zed, if you
deal
don't
with
mind.
shit. What?
Zed.
Gen fuck. Oh my god, I will. Okay, whatever. Uh, I won't say a fucking word. But because of
Mm-hmm.
how we deal with it, because things are so different with us, right? Therapy, although it's made its efforts to compensate for that, I feel like a lot of people still feel like it hasn't necessarily caught up with this new generation all just yet. Right? And because what I find is a lot of people our age often seek the whole quote unquote group therapy tactic of telling
Okay.
people close to you what's affecting you, what's going on, right? And then that gives them some level of comfort or whatever it is, right? So
Really? I usually see a lot of people dying with it alone. Or if they tell someone it's like one person,
yeah, that's what I mean. That's right. Like you find one really good friend, right? Or like one G, and you you spill your guts out or some shit. But obviously, the person that you're talking to doesn't have a PhD in psychology, so they can't like fix you. Um, but in talking about it, it ends up helping retroactively. Like it makes things feel a little lighter. So in that case, it kind of helps. Um, but it's very weird because a lot of the problems that people in this generation have aren't problems that the previous generation had. So it gets kind of interesting when you try and relate those same problems upwards to the previous generation. They kind of don't get it. Um, the same way we wouldn't get their problems because we didn't live in their time. We don't have the same problems because the generations are different and the experiences are different, right? So whereas um for example, like people always talk about like cyberbullying or whatever, right? And the older generations kind of they take it like a joke, you know. I've kind of seen like even mainstream TV kind of take this whole thing as a fucking joke, where they're like, oh, this guy's being bullied online. Well, I was being bullied in real life, when I was a kid. So you should suck it up or some shit like that, right?
Mhm.
Um, and they don't necessarily see the effect because to them social media isn't a big part of their lives as much as it is the rest of the this other generation or whatever. So it's kind of hard to relate when you don't understand the problem to begin with. Um, I feel like that's a huge issue that's still a little unresolved, just quite yet, and the rest of us are just like trying to figure shit through as we go on. I'm trying to figure out what best works. But because of that, right? I feel like we've ended up in such a unique and awkward position. Like
Mm.
even
What do you mean?
like we stand out because of that. As weird as it sounds, like for example, like taking the humor, like that classic meme of like boomer humor is oh I hate my wife, millennial
Yeah.
humor is I hate my life, Gen Z
Mm-hmm.
humor is enslaved water or some shit like so, it's some random abstract bullshit, right? Um, I, it's funny because I actually find that meme very funny. Enslaved water. But anyway, it's just proving the point. Like our psyche's warped in a way. We're like in a very unique yet disturbing way. Yeah, up to the point where um have you well I guess it's just it's a thing with all generations maybe to some extent, but I see it a lot where like people of our generation they're comfortable when they have other people of their generation in them, even if they don't particularly like them. Like I'd rather be in a room full of people my age than any other group, even if
Okay.
I don't particularly like these people. Right? I'd choose a room full of my peers than choose a room full of any older generation because I just feel like. But anyway, it's a weird dynamic.
I, I think that would be. I think such a statement would be like I don't know, an assumed generalization rather than I don't know, a truth. I guess
Well,
because
yeah, it might
I
be.
tend to oscillate.
You're an old man.
Uh,
Okay. Here's the thing, right? You're the one person, which is very
yeah,
convenient for this podcast. You're the one person, like who for some reason just acts like a
yeah.
fucking boomer. Like you,
No.
like you, like I'm not honestly. I'm not even joking, Joe. Like
Mhm,
you are the best example of a 70-year-old
mhm,
man in a 20-year-old's
mhm.
body. Like I have
Funny
yet
enough, I'm not
You're
even
doing
20
born in
yet.
the
You see,
wrong
I'm only
generation.
19, you see.
you're not even like see that's a,
Helping your case.
it's not, I have yet to understand how
Mhm.
this is some time travel magic going on up in here. But for some
No, you
reason
see, actually,
you're an old man.
mhm. No, I don't know why, but I tend to click better with guys who are older
Yeah, because you're an
because
old
guys who are
man.
my age, unless like I'm dealing with them on a one-on-one basis in a group, you know,
Well,
I don't know. It's just not my crowd, is it?
well, okay. How many people? Yeah, okay. So just for the sake, obviously not everyone is like this. I'm just saying, like majority of the people I've encountered, and probably majority of the people you've encountered. If I'm wrong, you can stop me. Um,
Okay, I am an exception to the rule, aren't I?
yeah. I'm not saying there are no exceptions. I'm just saying majority of the people kind of behave this way. Of course, you use this opportunity to feel nice and special about yourself.
Yeah, of course. You see, this is one of those situations where you've mentioned you're talking about the bigger picture, but I happen to be bigger than the frame, so you know.
Yeah. Good for you. Good for you. Uh, must be nice.
Must be nice.
Yeah, must be nice.
So this is like that meme, you're talking and I'm like, is this some peasant joke that I'm
Is this?
too rich to understand?
Yeah, good for you. Well, actually, weirdly
Hey,
enough,
you
I
guys
do.
flossing.
Yeah, flossing his age over
Mhm.
here. Actually, I don't know this because I haven't like checked the age demographics. I don't know how to do that. So I don't know the age range of people who actually listen to this podcast.
Okay.
Which is very. It might be people our age, or it might be older people, like from the older generation for some reason. So that could be
I'll laugh
interesting.
if it's older people.
Oh man, I don't I don't think they would take us seriously. Isn't that like just a normal trope? Like the older generation never takes the younger generation seriously, and like it's just like from the dawn of time. That's always just been a thing. The same way we don't take, we'll probably not take the generation after us seriously. Like it's just the way of nature or something. But anyways,
I wouldn't call it way of nature. I'll just call it humanity being stubborn.
Yeah.
yeah. Nostalgia bias. Your things were better because they were yours, pretty much. But yeah, uh, it's interesting to think about, right? And it brings up a lot of like philosophical questions and stuff, on how people like philosophy in and of itself is such a fascinating subject matter. Like uh, just the fact that philosophy even itself exists is kind of cool. Yes, we can do all these cognitive things, but we can also ask why.
Yeah.
Right? The ability to ask the question why single-handedly bred philosophy. Right?
Okay.
Look at me being all philosophical.
Nah.
Uh, but yeah, the whole and all these different, yeah. Because the thing with philosophy is you can't really be wrong with philosophy.
Mm,
like like it's one of those things that's asking questions that don't really have an answer just yet. So because they don't really have an answer, every answer is right. It's just how well it fits with your own personal logic. If that
um,
makes sense.
oh,
Like there's so many.
my experience with philosophy has kind of led me to believe that that might be maybe I guess maybe a fan kind of definition of what philosophy is,
Well,
because
I'm trying to be general
see,
here.
like no, you see, philosophy is just knowledge of what's it called, of
Knowledge.
or understanding. Yeah, it's essentially just knowledge or understanding of how shit works. You see, that's just
That's the
philosophy.
thing. There are no definitives in there are no definitives in this field. That's why there's so
Yeah,
many
no,
different
but
strains of thoughts, because no one can
no, but you
say
see,
that this is the for example, that this is the perfect way that you should think or you should live your life. So that's why there's Stoics, right?
yeah,
Philosophy
yeah,
is
yeah,
it's
but no, okay,
basically
you
how
see,
you
there's
should live, right? It's basically or rather, it's asking why. That's the best dumbed down definition of philosophy. Is asking why and trying to give
Well,
answers as to why. But because there's so many philosophical train of thoughts, right, and they all
yeah,
make uh, sense to someone, right? It's
yeah,
all about kind of finding the one that fits for you, right? Because there's
hmm
no definitive answer in philosophy. There's
yeah,
this, right? Um it's not hard coded. Uh, there are no necessary. Okay, well, like as long as something is as long as something makes sense, pretty much you can classify
hmm
it as a certain type of philosophy, right? As long as it appeals to one's logical systems, then you could technically label it as philosophy. So because
Does
of
that
that,
include not wearing a mask during a pandemic?
yeah, you could say it's philosophy. Look at the evil man now. You could say it's philosophy. That's it's my philosophical way of life not to wear a mask.
Okay.
It doesn't negate the facts.
Yeah.
Natural selection is inevitable. So it's fine. You wanna it's
Look
fine.
at you.
It's valid.
hmm
It's valid.
hmm
So you could think that way. It's perfectly
Yeah,
fine.
I guess it would be thinking along the train of thought of the best lives are lived dangerously, isn't it?
Sure. You could take it that way, right? I personally, as much as I want to be a duck, I want to be a human for just a little bit longer. So I'm not in any hurry.
Not in a hurry.
I'm not in any hurry. I'll get there
But you're
eventually.
missing the chance to be a duck,
What?
for a simpler life, you see.
No.
You're missing out.
That's my philosophy, right? Live life as a human,
Mhm.
retire as a duck. That's
Okay.
that's my philosophy. Oh man.
The shit I'm
Interestingly,
hearing today.
I know, man. Only on the noisy background could you hear shit like this, right? Fucking duck philosophy. But it's interesting because I was reading about this Japanese poet slash philosopher dude. Um, it was quite intriguing. I recently like found his work. I guess you could say. It's called Yukio Mishima. Is quite interesting fellow. Uh,
Mhm.
and he kind of opened up or rather his work, right? His writings ended up kind of opening up like a whole new can of worms, so to speak. I started rethinking my whole position because my philosophical stance was nihilism or is nihilism, has been
Okay.
for a while. Um,
It's
but
changed.
no, it's still nihilism. I'm still pretty much a nihilist. It's just
Okay.
funny, the fact that we have labels for all of this shit, uh, which in and of itself just adds onto the complexity of the human nature. Like, um, there's this like little thought experiment where you would take the smartest ant, right, in all of history, take the Albert Einstein of ants or whatever, like the 189 IQ ant, and try and teach him about the like human psychology, how humans live, right, the human world, and he would not get it, right, simply because of all the, as Joe put it, unnecessary complexity that we put up, that we give ourselves. Right? And most of this complexity, of course, is artificial in a sense, because we make it ourselves, right? we're the ones who construct the society in which we live in. To some extent, we have control over these things, as a species, as society, or whatever. Um, which is interesting in a way, because I guess you could kind of put it in the sense of like we're kind of pushing our own evolution. We're steering our own evolution, if that makes sense. At least our own mental evolution.
Mhm.
Which is an interesting way of looking at it. But yeah, I feel like it's very, it's just a very interesting subject matter that I have recently rediscovered, I guess you could say.
Though,
So how has it changed your opinion?
yeah.
Okay, it's see, okay, my opinion is still nihilist. I'm still very nihilist in
Mhm.
nature. I just haven't necessarily what's it called. I haven't cemented myself in that because again, like the whole point of philosophy is adaptation. Okay, well, it's I keep changing the whole point of philosophy, but but to suit my argument. But adaptation is like a key part of the human psyche, I guess, is changing and adapting, right? And because there is no so-called perfect philosophy, it's all about taking the aspects that you like, because
Mhm.
I feel like everyone ends up coming up with their own little custom um, philosophy or way to live or creed or whatever. You end up taking bits that resonate with you from a bunch of other different thinking groups, and you combine them all together to build the best custom internal philosophy that you have. So that's kind of, I guess, the route you could say that I've gone. Uh, Although I still consider myself a nihilist, simply because it, it's a really um, appealing, logically way for me to live. At the very least, it appeals to my logic, my own internal logic. Hence, if I might be so bold, I vibe with it. So I would still consider myself a nihilist, but I think um, the whole tying this into the previous conversation about like psychology and everything, and the generation, the whole Gen Z thing, is supplementing quote unquote therapy or whatever um, with philosophy, pretty much, right? It's like um, it's like self-medicating. It's a very crude way to put it. But yeah, I feel like it's really important for everyone. Rather, well, people do it anyways. People kind of have their own laws of which they live by. They have their own lines that they can't cross, and it's different for everyone, right? They have
Yeah.
their own way in which they deal with things and which they um, react to things, and that in and of itself is also like a mini philosophy, right? So it's I
Mhm.
just find this kind of shit very intriguing.
By the way, which book of Yukio's did inspire you? In case people want to know.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, it wasn't his actual uh, any of his actual books that inspired me. It was his entire life story. Um, he lived a very interesting life, to say the least. Uh,
Mhm.
The statement of the year.
yes, yeah. Now, let's just say he lived a very interesting. lived a
Well,
very interesting life, and he wrote a whole bunch of novels, which are pretty fucking good, if I do say so myself. Confessions of a Mask is personally, I think, the one that caught my eye the most. Although, as I've said, it's his story, um, that made me think about him more than anything else. But he reflects that a lot in his books. So that's you could also learn through that. I recommend catching up on him if you don't mind some Japanese intriguing philosophy. uh, Although he does his in his writing, he's very subtle, to say the least. With it,
okay.
it's not very bland. You kind of have to read between the lines a bit, but not too much. It's subtle yet ever present, if that makes any sense. I recommend catching a read, if you are interested in this kind of stuff. Um, I'm not gonna spoil anything on his life, just because I feel like it's such a crucial point, crucial thing to his story, right? But yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It's a guy who, dare I say, was shaped a lot of Eastern philosophy, in the late uh, 20th century.
So I do have my quarrels with philosophy. See,
Of course you
um,
do. You have
like
fucking curls with everything.
yeah. See,
Let's hear them. Let's hear them.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. Why not?
no, no, look, like I realize in every argument I keep on having to establish my position. You see,
Yeah, yeah.
okay,
Because
fine.
you're the one with the awkward position.
Yay!
And my
Yeah, okay, how about
so yeah.
okay? So we need to start with this. It's okay. So I am not against philosophy. In fact,
Devil's advocates again.
yeah,
Every single conversation will start with George saying, "Okay, first of all, I'm not against."
yeah. No, 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 no. Like, actually, I'm all for philosophy. I tend to dabble a bit into
Mhm.
philosophy
Uh,
every now and then. You see, it's just that okay, but I don't. It's more of a certain breed of philosophy, kind of pseudo philosophy. The one that tends to deal in very high-minded and metaphysical concepts that are interesting and are essentially what
my
one would
philosophy is
call
better than yours.
mental masturbation, I guess. You
Man,
see.
what the fuck?
Excuse me. Repeat. Repeat.
What the actual fuck, bro?
Yeah.
Oh my,
No, no, no.
holy, okay, okay.
You
Well,
see,
okay,
it's the
we
kind
have said a lot of weird shit on this show, but
but
that is one of the weirder ones. I'll give you that. I'll give you that one. That's one of the weirder ones. Mental masturbation. Should put that on my
okay,
fucking
fine.
wall.
No, you see, it's
Please don't explain how you mentally masturbate. Please don't do that. I know we're rated for explicit content, but please don't do that.
okay.
Keep it
I wouldn't
clean.
dive
Keep
in.
it clean.
No. It's the type that makes you feel like your brain is having an orgasm because you've achieved you feel like you've unlocked some sentient being kind of power in your mind just because you sat in a room and thought for a little more than a minute, you see. um you see, but so
To
a lot
inflated ego.
of sorry.
So it's just an inflated ego.
Yes,
Yeah, this it sounds like the kind of philosophy that you have when you're high. You know what I mean?
exactly.
Like you're high as fuck on some cookies or whatever, and you're sitting there being like, wait a minute, is math related to science?
Yeah.
And you have
No,
your entire head explodes.
yeah.
And like, it's
No,
all
but you see,
connected.
now, you see, my problem happens to be this. You see, a lot of philosophy ends up kind of like the philosophy that really shouts, and the philosophy that ends up being on the mainstream. That kind of defaces philosophy is that kind, the kind that makes you feel like f- it's the type you read, and it's so complex. It essentially loses essence. You see, it becomes one of trying to see who's smarter than the other, than rather one that aims to kind of help people. You see, it goes deeper into, it becomes fueled more by ego rather than the core, like desire of what it was meant to do. You see, to help humanity how to human. You see, but
Well,
people go in,
isn't
and inflated
couldn't
egos get in the way, and
couldn't you
suddenly, it's as complex as reading Greek.
couldn't
You
you
might as well be reading it in Greek. You see,
couldn't you well,
that's
there
my
are
problem
simpler
with
forms.
philosophy.
There are
A lot of
simpler forms
philosophy.
of philosophy, but couldn't you at the same time say that because of these inflated egos, right, that they have
Mhm.
more uh, it pushes the well, okay, first of all, I will contract you there of like inflated egos in philosophy, but assuming that they are, then wouldn't they push the whole philosophical concept further? Wouldn't they breed new discoveries because of the pseudo competitiveness that occurs because of um, the whole egocentricness thing, which I don't think is wildly rampant as you claim it out to be. As someone
No, no,
who's
no, no, no,
dabbled a
But
lot
okay, okay,
in
no,
philosophy.
no, no, no.
what?
You see,
Okay,
these are the
let's
kind
let's
of
let's.
things you see in motivational quotes, and statements people make at the end of
Oh, okay.
matters.
You're talking about motivational. Isn't that some
No, it's essentially
Instagram
the
ass
same thing.
post
No, no,
of
no, no. It is
people's?
essentially the same thing. People pick random statements from a text from by Cicero or Plato, and they
Yes,
put it
but
there, and
a
you're
random
like,
text does not what's it called? Like a random quote doesn't um contain everything to do with a specific philosophy. Just because you quoted Plato doesn't mean you follow Plato's train of thought. Probably the guy hasn't read Plato, and probably the quote itself doesn't represent all that Plato, fucking was advocating for to begin with. And probably, if you did read Plato itself, himself, right, his work, then the picture would be different. So I like with the whole I understand what you mean, like with the whole social structure of like random motivational quote speeches and whatever, and random quotes from random famous people. It's you. I guess you could argue that it's pseudo philosophy, um,
hmm
but I I wouldn't necessarily call it um, like majority of philosophy, right? It's just a couple random outliners on Instagram trying to sound cool. It's not. You could argue that it's philosophy, which is fine, but I don't necessarily feel like if you were serious. No, okay. I don't want to make a no true Scotsman fallacy. So I'll just leave it
hmm
at that. It's a pseudo type of philosophy and doesn't necessarily relate to the entire subject matter.
Yeah. No, you see, I really wish like what's it called? A lot of these concepts would not be like, you see, the thing I don't like with like a lot of philosophy is it,
Complexity.
okay, not really the complexity, more of the kind of detachment from, I don't know, like life, I guess, you see, like as basic life, you see. um
Isn't that
I guess that's
the
why
nature?
therapy exists, you see, because they can reintegrate, it can integrate the philosophy and real life. It can kind of um, meet, what's it called? You can kind of find the point where philosophy ends and life begins. It can kind of get you to help you to get to that point.
Isn't
But
it a bit integrate like so like philosophy is answering why to all these big existential questions. So it's
yeah,
the answer just because of the nature of the question, the answer won't relate to your everyday life because the question itself doesn't relate to your everyday life. They're like existential questions. So the answers
do
that
they
people
need
are
to
coming
be
up,
like such grand?
yeah, it's because the
Do they
questions are
need to be
grand.
so grand?
It's because the questions in and of themselves are so grand. Like
Mhm.
they're not simple questions. So because of that, the answers themselves, the answers in the questions, like they follow a similar vein. If you ask a complex question, right, the answer is probably going to be complex. Um,
Okay.
and because of that, then it's hard to integrate, uh, like basically integrating it into normal everyday life is something completely different because the question that you it's like asking for milk and complaining that it's not water. If that makes sense, right? Like the question asked something extreme or demanding, right? So
Yeah.
once the answer delivers, then it's really hard to take that complex answer and then force it to fit within the average everyday mundane life. But I guess that's what you, like you said, that's what therapy is kind of for, um,
Hmm.
to make you build your own personal little philosophy or whatever. But yeah, I feel like just because of the nature of the question, it's automatically going to be insanely hard to integrate it into everyday life.
Then at that point, would that make philosophy a bit useless, to be honest? Because it
Well,
seems to lack the capacity
it
to be to kind of
just
integrate into normal life, you see.
well,
Because philosophy
I,
claims to be there to kind of help you to human well, but
but
it can't actually
but
help you to human well
see,
because
okay,
it doesn't really.
at
Yeah.
that point, it's the same thing. It's asking a glass of milk to be a glass of water. Philosophy
Mhm.
isn't answering the questions of everyday life, it's answering the big philosophical questions. You asked, for example, like we asked philosophy to do something and it's doing that thing. We can't then chastise it for not doing everything. Right? It's we asked for a car to take us, from point A to point B. We can't then complain that the car isn't flying us across the ocean, right? Then we would
Mhm.
have asked for a plane, not a car. Um, in the same vein, philosophy, once we ask those complex questions, and we get complex answers, we can't then complain necessarily. Okay, well, we can, but we shouldn't then complain that those that those answers are so complex that we can't integrate them when the question that we asked ourselves was already so complex that the question itself wasn't integrated into modern life society, where that would be expecting philosophy to do a magic trick. which that's not its purpose.
And sometimes, like philosophy, the questions we ask in philosophy is also sometimes it's insensible or questionable in terms of everyday life. It's like um sometimes sometimes our question, like we question like what's life or something like that, and then you get those debatable answers, right? So I feel like philosophy is we will never have set answers, and that's one of the reasons why philosophy can't really be integrated because it's never an A or B. There'll always be something that changes on the flip of a hat on whatever mood you've woken up on like your lifestyle or some tragic or non-tragic past you have. So like having asking philosophy
Yep.
to unless you cater it to everyone, which is also again another hurdle. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, because
even psychiatrists have issues with that. So it's like unless you cater it to every single person,
and
yeah, you
unless
just
it's a
want.
psychology that the entire world just agrees upon.
And I mean, we as human beings hardly agree upon anything.
I mean,
So yeah, that's
we've had wars for less. We've had wars
exactly.
for less.
I mean, look at science at this point. We've catered a lot to science, and we have factual things where a nice majority will say yes, and then we obviously have that nigga, that person who just says no
People
for
who
whatever
believe the
reason,
Earth is flat. Um,
right?
yeah,
So, like, if we can't do it with facts where we can see where there's proof, how
yeah,
we expect it with something as fluid,
yeah.
right?
If we can't
It's
convince
philosophy.
people that the Earth is round, how are we going to convince people on complex? Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point.
Though, I guess at that point one would ask then, what next? I guess you see, what then? You see, because picture this:
Uh-huh.
a man is having a problem, I don't know, just problems in normal life. For example, um, they, you just wake up one day, things are just going south, and you're looking for some form of consolation,
You're all out of tea.
and sorry,
Worst case scenario, you're all out of tea. You have zero tea.
you're all out of you're all out of Yorkshire tea.
Yeah, you're all out of Yorkshire tea. You have none left. Your life is a mess.
Yeah, your life is a mess, and you're wondering. Um, so you decide to seek your help from philosophy, and you come across concepts that are quite grand, they're quite impressive, and for the first few instances, they're pretty decent. Then you go deeper into it, and you're like, whoa, these concepts are grand and everything, and you enter into a kind of as I mentioned before, mental masturbation kind of phase. You see,
God damn it, love that word so much, so much. Can we trademark that? Can we trademark? Oh,
so you feel like, yes, you've achieved some, I don't know, some power, and then I don't know, after after all that is done, you kind of realize you still have your problems. They haven't really gone.
Post not regret.
Yes.
oh
Would you
bloody
push the
hell!
analogy for that?
That is. Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, only on noisy background could you turn
Only a
philosophy
noisy background.
into fucking masturbation. Holy
Hmm.
shit. We're known across the world for this kind of shit, man.
Hmm.
Fucking hell.
So
This is what people came to hear.
this is what people see. So you're at the end of all that, and they're like, then you end up kind of lost. So you see now, um, you kind of realize like the answers you're searching for aren't really in philosophy because
Yeah, because you were
those
looking
concepts
in the
tend
wrong place. Just just ignore that.
you're breaking the rules of November, you see.
Yeah. Oh bloody hell.
Well, using the terminologies, right?
Ah,
Right?
but
Using
yeah,
the terminologies available to us, right?
yeah.
You've masturbated, right? You've gotten your orgasm, right? You see,
Okay.
but what was the reason for masturbation? You seen a fine woman, right? Or you find significant other, right? So,
Go to
however
the
you got, whether it's through imagination or you did something
so
shady, you got right. You had your orgasm. You see, the problem is right. You've not cured the symptoms. You've only delayed them.
yeah, it's an escape. But yeah, it's the same thing. So this person who has all these problems, and apparently is a chronic masturbator. So this
Mental masturbator.
yeah, yeah, sure. So this person who has all these problems, they went searching in philosophy for answers that aren't in philosophy. They should
Mhm.
they should be seeking therapy for their problems, not going into philosophy. Because philosophy by itself wouldn't help you in that case. Like it's exactly the same point. He's going into philosophy expecting it to do what it's not designed to do. You know,
Yeah.
so of course he's going to end up disappointed after his masturbation, um, because it's not designed to give him that level of fulfillment, right? If
The
he
dopamine.
Yeah, it's not designed for that. So obviously, his masturbation is not gonna end well. But if he seeked his my God, I hate you for making me use this analogy, by the way. But if he if he seeked his excitement elsewhere,
Mhm.
then maybe he would have found a resolution that was adequate. Bloody hell, man! I kind of
Or rather,
yeah.
let me put it simply, right?
Mhm.
He uses like using the terminologies given, huh?
You're having way too much fun.
Right?
uh,
Using the
This is how you handle a
ter-
man having an existential crisis, you know?
yeah, fucking hell. There's
man.
probably someone out there right now with an existential crisis, and I
You
hope
know,
you made him
that's what
laugh.
we are saying.
No, look. The
He's going
ball,
on
the
having
ball, the ball was already set rolling when I took it, right? I'm not.
poor
I'm not
choice of
gonna be.
words, isn't it?
Uh, oh boy.
I'm letting it continue down its path. That's all I'm saying.
Uh-huh.
So I would rather say like philosophy shouldn't be a clutch rather than more. It should be more of a boost, right?
Mhm.
So think of it like horny courage, using the terminologies given.
Okay.
Right? Raise the dopamine high now, right?
It's it,
And
so
try out your
so
luck.
so
I would say you will
so
fail a couple of times.
so it's
Mhm.
basically philosophy is like finding a good porn video to masturbate.
This
I would,
analogy has gone on for way too long. No, no,
I think we may have taken this out of proportion.
no, I would have taken it like as drunken courage, you
Right.
know,
Mhm.
right? It shouldn't necessarily be your whole driving force, right? But it can be a boost.
Yeah. Please don't make us
'Cause-
use this analogy again, George. Uh,
Okay, fine. I would.
but yeah. Yeah, I agree with what Joel says. It should be supplemented with something else. It should not be seen as the one-stop solution for everything, because that's not what it's designed for.
The what I have sorry I think this is that moment in the podcast where everyone kind of gives their own 2 cents of the matter. You see,
Yes, it is.
what I have my experience with this whole kind of life thing has showed me that everyone kind of needs this kind of special designed kind of technique to kind of get through things. You see, what something that kind of fits the design and I guess that like for example hmm. for example I feel like I'd give Bunny, can I say
Yes.
this here or would this be too private?
Could you say what?
I don't know. It's a lot related to your dynamic
Are you gonna
mind.
talk about actual masturbation?
No. No. It's more of my relationship with yours, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
Huh?
It's fine. No,
Okay.
not in that sense.
So,
Joel, get your mind out of the fucking gutter.
I didn't say anything. What are you implying?
I know how you think.
No comment.
To be fair, though, George, you could have chosen better words.
yes, okay,
What
yeah, sure,
about-
fine. I will not make this mistake again.
Fucking
Is
hell,
that
man.
fine?
Yes.
No. You see, my intent was to make sure you fully understand the ramifications, not misuse the term. You see, but you see, I'm not dealing with guys who are my age. I'm
Socially
dealing with
savvy
guys
as
who are
usual.
my age. You see,
No, but there's things called left to open interpretation. That's
Yeah,
what.
yeah.
Like,
Like. Whatever. Okay, just go ahead. Just
Let me get
finish what you were saying. Let's just get it over with.
Okay. So, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. So you see,
Your
my
relationship with
relationship with
Bonnie?
both is, yeah, you see,
Of course, you
Take
had to
that
say it
for
that way, Joel.
Wait.
Okay, whatever. Just
So, like,
George, just go on.
I'm getting there.
Of course you are.
So, like, my relationship with Boneface, you see, so sometimes
Told me.
Bonnie calls me out of the blue, and well,
That's
yeah, no, I call him out and just call him like for a random call, and he's like, dude, I don't know what's going on. Like, for example, what happened on Wednesday? Was it? I'm not sure.
Wednesday.
Was it Wednesday?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
Some random.
no, it was Wednesday.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yes, it was Wednesday. I think it should be. Sorry, this week has been too long. You see. Okay, he called me
Math is
during
hard.
the week, and he called me during the week, and so I come and find Boneface is
Just call me
He
Jacoby.
tells me-
Fucking hell, man.
I think our audience already knows both our names, so it's like
Yeah.
no one knows where at this point.
it doesn't matter anymore, does it?
Yeah, they do. It's just I strongly dislike being called that.
We're drifting from work very easily. You see.
Yes. I know. I'm being very petty. Go on.
Okay, fine. So, I call him, and apparently he is he feels disconnected for some reason. You see, I don't know. He has issues. well, not really issues, more of he's kind of living on autopilot for the past few days. He's been has taken a
My human
vacation, and
OS wasn't working.
so he's having problems getting he has problems he's currently having problems what's it called, not really problems, he's trying to figure out like how kind of
Should I talk this part?
yeah, okay, fine. Maybe, but let me get that. So I come and find him, and we just start talking, and in the middle of a conversation, suddenly he picks up. You see, something in the conversation picks up his attention. My opinion against gay people.
Of
I
course,
hope that's an example.
of course, you're gonna
Oh
bring
That's
that
a
my
up.
trigger.
Of course, you're
my
gonna bring
soft
that up.
spot for the Legend of Korra. One of these things arouses, I don't know, stimulates his brain,
Arouses.
and
What the?
suddenly he's like, "Wait, my brain is on a holiday, but it'll take a break from the holiday for just 1 second." I'll come. Let me come back just for this. You see, so um like that's just one example. You see, myriads of I can give like a billion
Of
and
course,
one
you had to
examples.
choose that one.
Yeah,
Of course, you had to choose that one.
no, it's the most recent example. You see,
Yeah.
it's the one that I can remember. Don't ask me to don't ask me to tell you what the hell we talked about last week. I couldn't remember for the life of me, man.
That's off podcast talk.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
our podcast talk.
So you see, and the same is it's the same inversely. You see, sometimes he calls me and he finds me like man, I'm not really in the mood right now, am I? So we start talking, and like a typical example today. Today has been like the craziest day I've. No, this week has been very crazy. So I think I'm having the side effects of a crazy week. It's apparently called fatigue.
Never heard of it.
So
Never heard of it.
yeah, okay, fine.
Must be a new disease.
Is it English?
Okay. Like I was
Must have
actually a
missed
bit
that page
tired, and
on the dictionary.
so I was actually a bit tired, and like I wasn't feeling like coming up to this podcast, and so I decided, okay, let me just call this guy,
Yeah, by the
just
way,
tell him.
this guy calls me hours before the podcast, and he's like, yo, Vinny, yeah, I don't feel like coming out.
I don't feel like
I'm like,
you know.
first of all,
Wait.
you're the one who
You'll
like
actually get
started
calls.
off initiating all of this, right? You're the one who was like, let's do the podcast on Friday at this
Mhm.
time. Then the nigga calls me up and is like, yeah, I don't want to do it.
I don't want to do it, man. No, like, quite frankly, anyone who would have seen me like a minute before I called Bonnie would have just known like this guy is 2 seconds away from just drifting off to sleep, man. Sleeping for the next century, man. I was tired.
Yeah.
But then, I just came, and I just started screaming at Bonnie, just telling him, man, I have no sight to come, and somehow, I'll okay. I might try and analyze and philosophize all I want, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how that works. You see, I just dumped all my problems onto him, and suddenly, the weight was, I don't know, lighter. Like I could feel the energy come back. You see, and I was like, wait, you know what? I was actually thinking of canceling, but I think I'm gonna make it. I think I'm gonna make it. You see, and well, essentially, what I'm trying to say in my whole convoluted kind of way of speaking is, I think if one is kind of looking for a way to, I don't know, human well, I guess maybe you should try looking for ways, like try, I don't know, kind of s- dealing with problems one by one rather than on a superficial scale, as philosophy kind of puts it, rather than asking the question, what is life? You just ask the question, do I really have the psych to do this podcast today? You deal with problems on a small scale, you see.
I guess
Something I
that's
like
your
doing, and I've
philosophy.
told Bonnie about it, is I like taking breaks, you see. I like spending hours during the day just to think, you see. So that and thinking kind of helps because, you see, a problem I have is normal life tends to be too fast paced for my taste, you see. I don't know, things seem to be moving too fast.
I keep
So
telling
I
you,
like,
you're an old man. Okay,
no, you see,
this is old man speak right here. If
no,
you
no, no,
needed
no,
any
no.
more
Like, I'm being honest. Normal life is too fast paced for my take. So I like spending a few hours, trying to slow it down, trying to stop time, as it were, you see, so that I can just process through like what the hell has been going on, you see. It kind of helps so that I can kind of like take stock of like what happened like at any one point in time, you see. Also, it can kind of help me kind of keep track of everything that's on my mind. Like, I tend to me thinking a lot means sometimes I tend to kind of leave my brain working in the background while I am indulged in normal life, and I end up forgetting what I was thinking about, and ends up building in the background, and then so I end up now having convoluted thoughts, and I'm wondering what the fuck is this, you see.
mm,
And me spending a break helps me dig through all that, you see. It helps kind of put all my problems that are behind me in front of me so that I'm able to see things clear, and I'm able to see where the wound bleeds. That way I'm not cutting off the entire arm. I'm just applying a plaster to the bleeding wound, you see. Uh, it helps with to kind of localize the problem, you see. That way I know, okay, it's just a simple cut. I can walk to Nakuru if I need to because it's a cut on the hand, you see. My legs are fine.
not that not that anything like that would stop you from walking to a different county. Um,
No, 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 no,
but
no.
I'm actually curious now that we're on this topic of how all of us handle things, and I'm
Mhm.
curious, Joe, how do you handle your shit? What is your personal philosophy? If I may be so bold.
I don't have a personal philosophy for shit like this.
You just goes with the
From
flow.
right,
You don't
like
nothing, not even the masturbation.
as I said, I was using the terminologies available.
Uh,
No, but to be serious, right?
Okay, at this point, I have what's it called? Withdrawn any responsibility whatsoever. As to how
Too late.
this term has been misused,
nah,
it is
nah,
no
nah,
longer.
nah, nah, nah. We're gonna hold you to
I
this.
am no longer responsible for where it has gone to.
Nah, nah, nah. We'll be on episode 48, and this will be a running joke. I promise you. So yeah,
Oh yeah,
Joe, go
totally.
on.
But look, given my nihilistic nature, right? It's just for me, it's a case where it's like, uh, if I do have issues or if I do have of a certain day I'm down, right? I feel like my personality just kicks in where it's like I don't like sleeping in problems. I don't like moving with problems. I don't like changing locations with problems. So it's a
Mhm.
case where it's like I hit a problem. I try as hard to solve it at that particular point, and let's say shit hits the fan and it doesn't work, right? I also do the same. I hit the fan and I'm like, yo, you okay, so I'll deal with you next. Right? I it's either I'm 100 and a zero or 0%. I either think about it and try to critically solve it at that particular point where it's appeared,
Like you put
or
everything on hold and solve it and then move on
yeah, or I just don't give up. If it's a case where I can hold it, I just give it zero fucks and move on.
until it gets too bad.
Yeah.
It's this is an interesting way of looking at it, I guess. Well, I guess the whole point is whatever works for you, whatever works for
No,
everyone.
it's like if I was to think of it philosophically, I could come up with quantum things. If I'm just talking about a problem has hit me or smacked me in my head, what's my initial instincts? It's either I'm solving you now,
So
whether you like it
fix
or
it or
not. If it doesn't
procrastinate.
work, right, procrastinate, and
Oh
then
man, I am such an advocate for procrastination. I am the biggest advocate for procrastination. Um, but yeah, I get you. I get you. That works.
I wouldn't call it the best strategy, but it's like
I don't think there's a best strategy. If there
yeah,
was one, we'd all be using it.
all I'm saying is like that's my initial response. Any other method I may conjure up along the way, that's for later me.
Uh, uh, like it, it's fascinating how everyone deals with stuff so like differently and with like different levels of intensity. Like it's really weird because in so many ways we're so different, but we're kind of the same. Like
What's your method?
no, my methods.
How? Sorry.
What,
Uh, how?
how what?
Okay, now let
Oh,
me
how
not
are
read
we so
too
different yet so the same? Like we
much.
we deal with things that are very similar in nature. Um, as human beings, right? We go through things that only other human beings can understand. We have a lot of
Mm,
shared experiences, but at the same time, how we deal with those events, with those experiences, are radically different. Like if you have a group of people and they all go through like a tragic event or something, an event that changes people, um, everyone will handle it completely differently, even though they all went through basically the same thing. So the same, like we all have different lenses. So although the world we perceive is the same, how we perceive it isn't. That's why I said they're the same, but yet so different. Um, how I deal with things is definitely not the best. And I definitely don't recommend anyone use my technique. I do a lot of procrastination, right? Usually, if it's a difficult decision or requires um, time and effort, I will procrastinate it for as long as I can. That's just the kind of person I am. Not I don't necessarily do that with like other stuff, but especially with just problems, I procrastinate a lot. But when it comes down to dealing with the problem, like I've procrastinated for long enough, or it's a problem I just have to deal with straight away. Um, I usually like to take my time with it. I don't like rushing it, even if it's a very minor issue. I want to so-called like fix it in a way that it doesn't come up again. Right? So as much as I'll procrastinate, as much as I'll avoid it, when it comes down to fixing it, I'll want to fix it permanently. I use the analogy of if I find a crack in my wall, I'll eventually let the wall fall, and then I'll build a stronger wall in its place. So that's kind of how I deal with things. It's not very efficient. I would not recommend people use it, but whatever works, right?
I mean,
Mhm.
if it was my case, I would have broken the wall and fixed it.
Yeah, yeah. I just let it break on its own.
If it
It's,
was my case, I would have
you'd walk around the wall.
carved a hole. No. I would have carved a hole where the crack is. You see, I believe in space.
uh, just make a
You see,
window. Just make a window at the.
just look the window, man.
Like, there's a crack. Yeah,
What's the
I'ma
need
just
to
make a
destroy the
window.
whole wall? You see, localize the problem and fix that.
Yeah, see, we
But
all
but
deal with it so differently.
what I would say for the wall case. But how sure are you don't know if the internal structure of the wall is weak and that's why it's cracked at that point?
See, the thing is, like, that's the thing. I know that the wall needs repair because the wall has fallen down. like I procrastinate that much to the point where, like, oh, the wall fell down. Okay, time to build a new better one. And I'll sit down and I'll analyze why it fell down and all this, and I'll deal with it at that point. But before that point, I will procrastinate the hell out of it, which is not very healthy, but it works. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Uh,
Well, it's cracked.
yeah, and I fixed it.
Wait, no,
So
yours is it shattered, then you fixed it.
exactly. So even if it gets cracked, and until it breaks, I don't fix it. I don't fix it until it breaks, then I fix it. Uh, but yeah, it's quite interesting. I wish there was a way we could interact with the people listening, and maybe, oh yes, we can. You could catch us on Twitter or whatever. we have those, and maybe tell us how you guys interact, how you guys deal with your own shit, um, and how you do the whole, uh, as George would put it, mental masturbation. I'm never letting you down for that one, by the way. So you better get comfortable with that analogy. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's quite intriguing, and hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully, no one takes us seriously. I have to keep saying that, just in case there's someone out there.
Just in case someone
'Cause-
does it.
Yeah, just in case there's
We're not experts.
yeah, just in case there's a random dude out there who's listening in and be like, "Oh my, these guys are so, they know what they're no, we don't know shit, man. We're just like you." It's just that when we get bored, we talk about it. Right? So we ain't experts or nothing, right? Don't take our word for it. We're just noisy background, to fill in
Mhm.
your day as you're doing random shit, and we might as well fill your day with some interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually think that we're we're we are on. My God, my bloody English has just disappeared. Uh,
Mhm.
After podcast, English corrupt.
yeah. Bloody hell! I'll devolve and start speaking in random. Oh, whatever. Uh, what I mean to say
The
is,
English starter pack has gone missing.
yeah,
Please
yeah.
reinstall.
It didn't come with the How to Human DLC. But yeah, so language is such an interesting topic, but whatever. I digress.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have time for another 3 hours. And we're all out of time for this podcast, which is surprising. I'm always surprised how fast these things go. If you ask me, I would have said we've been talking for like 30 minutes. What?
I think we should be used to it right now because as someone who I usually call and I usually go into our calls and I make sure I have enough minutes for 2.5 hours at least.
Calls are a
For
little
at least two
different though.
hours.
Like I get the like this has such a different feeling to a call. Like the interactivity, all three of us here talking, discussing. It feels more interactive than just a normal call. So I guess that's why it time flies
Mm.
quite fast. But it's come a time when we have to end. Unfortunately, if only
Yeah,
we could go on for hours and hours. Um,
if only.
yeah, if only, right?
Tell me.
Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Maybe one day we'll release a mega episode, right? 100 hours.
Huh? Do we have the time for that?
Probably not. Probably not. Well,
Hours? What? That's what, like 4 days? And
yeah, yeah. It's a really long time, and I ain't gonna lie. I don't have that much material, man. I don't think any of us do.
nah.
But this was quite nice to have you
Mhm.
guys here and have the podcast crew back together. Um, of course, you can catch us live on Discord. I'll leave a link somewhere in case you want to catch these things live. I don't know why the fuck you would want to do that, but in case you do,
Yeah, I think they're more enjoyable live.
yeah, maybe, who knows? um, but I'll leave some links so you could find us. But I think that's it. As usual, cringy as fuck outro time.
Mhm.
Of course, we don't have an outro. I feel like saying that we don't have an outro has become our outro. Like we've said it so much that it has to be the outro now. That we don't have it.
We don't have an outro.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but just before we leave, uh, I want to thank the viewers or the listeners, whatever, because I released a little mini podcast, and it did surprisingly well. I didn't think people would actually listen to it, mainly because it's been so long since the last podcast. But apparently people are still interested, so thank you. I don't know why you would still be interested, but thank you nonetheless. Um, we will, keep dishing out this amazing content, right? This mental masturbation with worthy contents. Uh, yeah, and
I'll never get her from that. I will lie. I'll
yeah,
never get her.
nah, that's with you forever. So
Mm-mm.
you know, we'll see you guys next time. Uh,
Mhm.
see ya. Bye.
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 Bye. I didn't actually cut the audio just yet. I was waiting for it to get cringy. Okay, now it's gone.